Hey guys, what's going on? Blaine back for another Netflix review, and today I'm going to be talking about Falling for Christmas. Falling for Christmas is an American Christmas romantic comedy that tells the story of Sierra Belmont, a wealthy hotel heiress who prepares for the upcoming Christmas holidays. She goes on a ski trip with her boyfriend Tad, which ends in disaster as she suffers from an accident. She wakes up later in the hospital to find out that she's lost her memory and doesn't remember anything of who she once was. She soon finds herself in the care of a ski lodge owner named Jake, who she develops an inevitable romance with. For some reason, this movie is getting raked over the coals by critics, and I don't really know why. Anyone who knows about these sorts of movies knows exactly what they're getting into with it. It's a simple, if forgettable rom-com that's meant to have some fun wasting an afternoon or evening with, and it does an okay job at doing so. Lindsay Lohan plays the lead role of Sierra and does a great job at it. Her role isn't exactly complex nor original, as it feels like the amnesia concept has been done to death for the genre, but there's enough detail added to her character, like her mother's death and her becoming more self-reliant over time, that make her stand out more. More importantly though, it's just great to see Lohan back acting again. She brings a lot more charisma to the role than I expected for this type of movie, especially during the more emotional moments, and she definitely makes the story a lot more interesting to watch than it would have been without her. The other romantic lead, Jake, doesn't have the same level of screen presence as Sierra, but he's still fine overall. Like with Sierra, there's enough detail behind him to separate him from the romance, as he hopes to save his ski resort from being closed down, and he does a good job at communicating the struggle. Also like Sierra, he too has a deceased relative in the form of his wife, which leaves him a single father to his daughter Abby. It's kind of cheap to rely so much on the deaths of characters the audience doesn't know, just so that they can connect the two leads, but again, Jake's actor is competent in delivering this more emotional side to his character. The relationship between Sierra and Jake takes a while to get going, longer than I thought it would anyway. It suffers from the same problem that a lot of other rom-coms like this one do, and that there's just not that much romantic tension to capture the viewer's attention. Once it gets about halfway through the movie though, it does start to get better. The romance is quite formulaic in nature, but for a movie like this that's to be expected, and also not necessarily a bad thing. The two bond and change as characters thanks to their influence on each other, with Sierra becoming more independent and Jake becoming more inspired to save the resort, and it's great to see this development unfold. But like I said before, it does take a while to get to the more sweeter parts of the story. In fact, Jake kind of comes across as a dick by lashing out at Sierra for the smallest things that shouldn't be that big of a deal. Once it gets past its rough beginning, the romance becomes a lot more enjoyable. The other half of the rom-com equation is the comedy portion, which doesn't fare quite as well as the romance did. It mostly consists of stereotypes of wealthy characters acting snobby, which contrast the humble attitudes of the people of Summit Springs, and a lot of slapstick where characters fall, and fall again. The majority of this slapstick is borne by Sierra's boyfriend/fiancé Tad, who does absolutely nothing in the entire movie other than be an obnoxious influencer stereotype. His whole subplot trying to find Sierra in the wilderness was a complete waste of time, and I couldn't wait for him to disappear from the camera. The skiing scenes were the funniest for me, mostly because I've been skiing since I was a child, and it was ridiculous to see these characters do things like not wearing helmets and wearing sunglasses on a cloudy day. Even the geography of where the characters go in between cuts doesn't make much sense. They're silly, but they're the fun kind of silly that I like having a good laugh at. If there's one thing that the movie truly excels at, it's the way it tackles its Christmas atmosphere. The production and costume design and pretty much everything to do with the visuals is so on point, it almost doesn't even look real, like some sort of fantasy come to life. Any sort of thing you can think of related to Christmas is in this movie. It's got snow-capped trees, sleigh rides, carols, tree lighting, gingerbread houses, gift wrapping, and a ton of decorations. All of these things contribute to the lighthearted vibe one would expect from a rom-com, and it's a joy to see. Another thing adding to the joy that deserves its own bit of recognition is the cinematography, which I didn't expect to be as good as it was. There's a lot of creative camera angles used in certain scenes that help enhance the sense of magic behind the season, and the mountain scenery surrounding the village is something I never get tired of seeing. The special effects for these more magical scenes, though, could have been better, and it's not for lack of trying. It's pretty ambitious to see the movie tackle some of the things it showcases, but most of it doesn't look great. The computer-generated snow is pretty ugly in parts, and the green screen is easily noticeable during the skiing scenes. Everything else behind this movie is more or less just nitpicks surrounding the story. There's not a lot of urgency behind Sierra missing, or even how she goes about getting her memory back, but the other stuff regarding Jake's North Star Lodge is somewhat compelling, and as wooden as the dialogue can be, the more quiet moments where characters don't speak are more than adequate at getting their point across. I know I already said this at the beginning, but I don't understand what critics were expecting with this movie. I mean, it is simple in presentation, yes, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have depth. It has a sentimental tone throughout the movie and a positive message about rediscovering oneself and following your heart, which makes for a heartwarming package to enjoy. Overall, Falling for Christmas is yet another average holiday rom-com that isn't all that great, but not that bad either. If you like rom-coms and you just want to turn your brain off and enjoy a festive love story, this movie will definitely scratch that itch. It's not a mind-blowing artistic masterpiece by any means, but it doesn't have to be. It's predictable and cliché, but sometimes a simple comfort viewing experience is all you need, and if that suits you, then you may find yourself falling for Christmas sooner than expected too. What did you think about this movie? Did you enjoy it for what it was, or were there parts about it that annoyed you too much? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways guys, that's going to wrap up my review of Falling for Christmas. Thanks for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always stay tuned for the next part where next time I review the American animation, My Father's Dragon. Bye bye!